Hello, my name is Erik. You can find me online as Erik on Bike. I want to demonstrate a new type of web application I'm developing, and this is based on a Smalltalk image which runs inside a web browser, and it acts as a kind of JavaScript engine. So it's responsible for the DOM manipulation and receiving events and handling on that. So in that way, you don't need to know JavaScript or those elements to be able to create an application. The Smalltalk image, which runs inside the browser, is based on the Pharaoh candle image, so it's a very tiny image. Currently, it's about 150 kilobytes as a kind of startup, and from that, extra code is loaded into the browser to run. This is part of a larger project I'm working on to create a development environment for kids to learn to program, and I want to base that on Smalltalk. And I want it to be in line with the Smalltalk philosophy, meaning if you change something, it should be direct and it should be visible, the change you've made directly. And I'm going to try and show what it looks like in the current implementation. It's still work in progress, but I hope you get an idea of what's in store. So I have a Pharaoh image on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, I've got my Safari browser, and I'm going to go to my local implementation. And as you can see in the console on the bottom, a lot of things have happened when starting the application. It loaded the user interface engine and initialized that image and installed a number of classes. Those are things which are not part of the tiny image that's the base for everything, but installs them as part of the interactive application that's what I'm running at the moment. And you may have noticed on the left-hand side in the Pharaoh image, an application is shown in the inspector, and you can see that I can call methods from the server side, which get executed on the client, so in the browser. So if I execute this method, I'm going to do the cr log, get return log message. I'm going to send that to the client with a hello world. And if I execute that here on the right hand side, you see the hello world show up in the browser. So there's a direct connection between the two. And as a small showing what happens, there's a window here on the top, and if I start dragging it, I can fairly smoothly. It's lagging slightly, but I can move it around, and that means that I do this solely through Smalltalk code. So all the events that are handled, that need to be handled, are Smalltalk. There is any Smalltalk code, and that's been quite an adventure there, since browsers fire off a lot of events for things like dragging and dropping. But the code now is such that it will be able to handle those events. Every event is handled in a number of milliseconds and not more. So you can that's fast enough. It will even run on a mobile device. So this is just a short thing to show that it will actually run something. But I'm going to show a little application now, the very famous counter application, and what it does. And I'm going to show that in Pharaoh on the left-hand side again. Here's a counter web application, and the counter web application installs a counter presenter into the browser, and it will create two of those presenters, one on a global counter model and one on a locally created counter model. So I can well, you're pretty familiar with how a counter works, I suppose. And if I reload the browser, it will come back again with the same in the same situation as it was before. And if I go to the counter view, for example, and on the class side of the view, there's a template describing the HTML for the interface. I can decide, well, you know what, I don't like the single minus and single plus. I'll make 2 of those. And as soon as I save this, on the right hand side, you'll see it has changed the interface. So that's part of this. Everything gets changed directly, so you really have the direct change that you feel. And if I go to the style of this application, I can also decide, okay, I want my buttons to have a background color, for example. So it's going to be a transparent kind of blue, and it's there directly. And again, if I reload the application, oh, should do it right. It's there with the change I've made. And even so, I can change things which are not part of my, there. I can also change part of the code which is not in my application. So if I go to the print string method of a number, and I need to go there, I'll show that first, of course. If I render the view, it's going to take the counter value and do a print string on that. Now the number class is already present in the image, but if I change the server-side implementation and make the default print string show a hexadecimal display type, it will install this on the server side. At the moment, it will not change anything. So I have to trigger the print string to be active. So I'm increasing the counter, and you see it's using this hexadecimal print string. And if I change it back to 10 again and change, it will be back to the regular. So I can change things in the browser fairly directly, both visually for the user interface as well as code. And well, that's a good thing. I'm going to close the, scroll up a bit, and here I have another browser. This time it's Chrome, and if I'm opening up this same counter in Chrome, it will also show the 2 counters with the same thing. And you'll notice both have 14 there as the global counter value. And if I increase in one, it will increase in the other as well. And if I decrease, it will go together, whereas the locals are only there for the local. So that's that's the way that the application interacts with the server image, and you can manipulate the things in the browser. It's fully Smalltalk based, as you can see. So there's no need at the moment for JavaScript knowledge. It's all behind the JavaScript virtual machine and plugins for the virtual machine. That's Squeak.js based. And there is one plugin installed specifically for this type of web application, which does the rendering and produces events that the Smalltalk code can handle. And if we look at the counter view, for example, we'll see in the handle click event that it receives a click event, and it decides if the ID of the element which is clicked on, if that is decrease, it will announce a counter decrease, and of course, if there's an increase, it will announce a counter increase. And these IDs are part of the template. You'll see I've created a button with an ID for decrease and one for increase. And if we look at the presenter class, there's a view created, and if the decrease or increase announcement is made, it will decrease or increase the model. And on the other way around, if the model gets changed, it will render the view again. And rendering the view means asking the model for its value and then asking the view to render that value. The thing is, the presenter and the view are part of the code which is running inside a tiny image in the browser. And there's also a presenter inside the Smalltalk image on the left-hand side, so on the server. And it talks to the model. So the presenter is actually present in two locations, and it uses a proxy for the model if it's inside the browser, and it uses a proxy for the view if it's running inside the server image. And that way, through the doesn't understand mechanism as a proxy, it informs the other side of things that have changed. Currently, the browser only sends back events to the server, and the server is capable of asking the browser side to perform all kinds of tasks. So it's a kind of a worker application in the browser. It doesn't ask the server to do anything specific. It only announces events that have happened, and that could be an event that a message should be sent to a model, but it's the server side which actually does send it. And well, of course, the counter class isn't very specific, not interesting to as I meant to say. And this was part of the web application. What gets installed inside the browser is something that has to be specified specifically, so that's not something that happens magically. For example, the presenter knows what its required classes are and will, based on that, new classes will be installed. Things will get installed only once. So you can add classes to the environment, but it will only add it to the browser once. Okay, I think that's it for the moment. Happy to hear if you've got questions, and I hope to be able to answer them. Signing off. Bye.